Somewhere inside you, there is a tired part that has been whispering, "Please, be gentle with me now." Not because you are weak, not because you can't handle life, but because your heart has been doing so much holding and so little being held. And I want you to know something right away, before your mind tries to argue with it. You were meant to receive comfort. You were not put on this earth to carry every feeling alone, to swallow every ache in silence, to keep smiling while your chest feels heavy. If you are listening to these words, it is not an accident. There is a quiet intelligence moving through your life, a kind of timing that doesn't shout. It simply arranges. It brings a sentence to you at the exact moment you were starting to believe that nothing could soften this. It brings a pause, just long enough for you to hear your own truth again. And maybe you have been asking for help without even knowing you were asking. Because sometimes the request isn't a prayer spoken out loud. Sometimes it is the way you keep going anyway. Sometimes it is the way you still show up, even when you feel hollow. Sometimes it is the way you read one more message, drink one more glass of water, take one more breath, and you don't even call it courage. But I do. Heartache can make ordinary days feel strangely loud, and you may have been carrying it more quietly than anyone knows. You may have been functioning, working, answering, smiling when needed, and then you come home, and the silence feels like it has teeth. Or you lie down to sleep, and your mind starts replaying what you wish you had said, what you wish had never happened, what you wish you could undo. And I want you to hear this very tenderly. Nothing is wrong with you because you feel deeply. Nothing is wrong with you because it still hurts. Some people try to rush the heart the way they rush a schedule. They say, "Be over it, clear it by now." They say, "Move on." They say, "Stop thinking about it." But the heart does not respond to pressure. The heart responds to safety. And if you have been trying to heal while you are still bracing, while you are still clenching, while you are still waiting for the next wave of pain to knock you over, then of course it has been hard, because your system has been on alert, not because you are dramatic, because you are human. When the heart hurts, the mind often tries to solve it like a problem, yet the heart heals more like a garden than a machine. A machine is fixed with force and tools and urgency. A garden is restored with patience, water, light, and a willingness to wait without panicking. And you, my dear, are not a machine. You are living, feeling life. You have seasons. You have moments of bloom and moments when everything looks quiet on the surface, but something is still happening underneath. Your healing is not always visible. Sometimes it looks like you made it through the day without collapsing. Sometimes it looks like you laughed for 3 seconds and then you surprised yourself. Sometimes it looks like you finally admitted, "This really hurt me." That admission is not weakness. That is the beginning of truth. And truth, spoken gently, is like sunlight to the heart. I want you to consider that the pain you feel is not proof you are damaged. It is proof you have depth. Shallow places do not ache like this. Only a heart that has loved, a heart that has hoped, a heart that has reached towards something meaningful, knows this kind of tenderness. Now you may be thinking, but why did it happen? Why did life let this touch me? Why did someone I trusted disappoint me? Why did I lose what mattered? And I am not going to give you a sugary answer. I will not pretend pain is pleasant. But I will tell you something I have seen again and again in life. Even the hardest experiences carry information. Not punishment, information. They show you what you have been tolerating. They show you what you have been calling love when it was really longing. They show you where you have been abandoning yourself to keep someone else close. They show you where you learned long ago to blame yourself when someone else could not meet you. And perhaps this is the message that has been trying to reach you through the noise. Not that you deserved the pain, but that you deserve to stop living in a pattern that keeps creating it. And the universe, so quiet and so precise, will often send the same lesson in different costumes until you finally receive it. Not to torment you, to free you, to bring you back to you. Let's slow down now. If you can, just notice your body as you listen. You do not have to change anything yet. Just notice. Notice your shoulders. Notice your jaw. Notice the area around your heart. And as you notice, you may realize you have been holding yourself like someone expecting bad news, like someone waiting for the next drop, like someone who learned that love comes with a cost. And I want to offer you something new, not a demand, not a command, an off-airing. If you can, soften your shoulders a fraction, as if your body has finally been given permission to stop bracing. Just a fraction. Not perfectly relaxed, just a little less guarded. And take one slow breath, not forced, just present. You see, the heart does not heal only through words. It heals through an environment, through the internal atmosphere you create. Are you harsh with yourself? Are you impatient with your process? Do you tell yourself you are too much, too emotional, too sensitive? If you do, I want you to hear this with great compassion. Somewhere, someone taught you that your feelings were inconvenient. Somewhere, someone responded to your tears with dismissal. Somewhere, someone made you feel you had to earn tenderness. And you may have carried that lesson into adulthood without realizing it. You may have become the one who dismisses your own heart. You may have become the one who says, "Stop it, get it together." But today, we are learning a different inner language, a language that the heart understands, a language that says, "I am here with you. I am not leaving you. I will not rush you." Because one of the deepest wounds is not what happened. It is the feeling that you were alone inside it. So let's change that right now. Not by fixing the past, by changing the present relationship you have with yourself. Sometimes the deepest wound is not what happened, but what you began to believe about yourself because it happened. You may have started believing you were not chosen, not enough, replaceable, hard to love, too late, too broken. And I want you to pause here, because this is important. Those are not facts. Those are conclusions. They are interpretations made by a tender heart trying to make sense of pain. A child inside you may have reached a very simple answer. If I hurt, it must mean something is wrong with me. And that child deserves kindness now, not correction. Kindness. You see, your present self has a voice, and when you use it lovingly, you can gently update those old conclusions. You can say, I know why you thought that. I understand why you decided that. But we are learning something new now. This is only a thought, and a thought can be changed. And changing a thought does not mean you deny what happened. It means you stop letting the wound write your identity. There is a difference, a very big difference. You can acknowledge the pain and still refuse the belief that you are unworthy. You can grieve what you lost and still know you are not lost. You can be disappointed and still be lovable. You can feel cracked open and still be whole at the center. I know this to be true because I have watched hearts reopen, not by force, by gentleness. Now let's talk about the part of you that may be afraid to heal. Yes, afraid. Because healing sometimes feels like risking again. And your protective system says, if I stay closed, I won't get hurt. It thinks it is helping, and we honor that. We do not shame that. We simply teach it a new strategy. We teach it that you can be open and discerning. You can be tender and still have boundaries. You can love and still stay loyal to yourself. And that is a very different kind of safety. Not the safety of a locked door. The safety of knowing you choose who enters. Now maybe your heartache is about a person, or maybe it is about a dream. Maybe it is about the life you thought you would have by now. Maybe it is about time. The way time passed and did not give you what you hoped. And you are looking at yourself thinking, what did I do wrong? Sweetheart, life is not always a straight path. It is a living thing. And sometimes, what feels like a detour is actually a quiet correction, not because you were bad, because you were being redirected towards something that fits the truth of you. The universe speaks in redirections. It speaks in the way something falls away that you were gripping too tightly. It speaks in the way you are forced to slow down so you can finally feel what you've been avoiding. It speaks in the way you are brought back to yourself again and again until you finally stop running from your own heart. And you may have been asking for a love that heals you while still believing you must earn it through suffering. So life said, let's clear that belief. Not to hurt you, to bring you home. Now, I want to offer you a few gentle words you can let settle into you. You do not have to repeat them out loud if you don't want to. You can simply listen. Let these words land slowly and notice how your chest responds as you hear them. In the infinity of life where I am, there is room for my healing. I allow my heart to be tended, not pushed. I give myself permission to feel and to soften. I release the need to blame myself for what I could not control. I am learning how to treat my feelings with respect. I am willing to choose thoughts that support my peace. Now, notice something. These are not magic spells. They are not promises that everything will change overnight. They are directions. Like turning your face toward light, the heart begins to respond to consistent kindness. And even if you don't believe every word yet, your willingness matters. Willingness is powerful. Willingness is how healing starts. Now I want to talk about grief, because many people carry grief and pretend it is something else. They call it being busy. They call it being fine. They call it just stress. But grief is love that didn't get to go where it wanted to go. And when you honor grief, you are honoring love. You are not stuck. You are processing something meaningful. So if tears come, let them. Not as a dramatic event, as a natural release. The body knows how to let go when it feels safe. And this, right now, can be part of that safety. There is something very sacred about sitting with your own heart without trying to distract yourself away from it. It is like sitting beside a friend who is hurting. You wouldn't rush them. You wouldn't criticize them for crying. You would stay. So stay with yourself. Even if it is only for a few minutes at a time. Now, you may be carrying anger. Anger is not bad. Anger is often the part of you that knows something was not okay. It is a boundary that arrived late. And if you were trained to be nice, to keep peace, to swallow discomfort, you may have stored anger in your body for a long time. So we meet it with maturity. We do not act it out destructively. We also do not stuff it down. We listen. We ask it, "What are you protecting?" And it may say, "I am protecting your worth. I am protecting the part of you that was overlooked. I am protecting the part of you that kept giving and did not receive." That is valuable information. And when you honor that information, your heart becomes wiser, not harder. Now, let me share a simple picture with you. Imagine you have been carrying a fragile bowl. It has a crack. Not because you were careless, because life happened, and you've been trying to carry it while pretending it isn't cracked. Every time you grip it too tightly, the crack feels worse. But when you cradle it, when you hold it with care, when you stop banging it against your own expectations, the bowl becomes usable again. It may even become more beautiful because it has character, because it has history, because it has been loved into repair. That is what tenderness does. It does not erase the past. It strengthens what remains, and you remain. Now, I want to speak to the part of you that is embarrassed that you still care. That part that says, "I should be over this," or "Why am I still thinking about them?" or "Why does this still affect me?" My darling, because you are not a switch. You are not a machine. and caring is not a crime. Caring means you are capable of connection. The goal is not to become someone who feels nothing. The goal is to become someone who feels and stays present and keeps their self-respect intact. You can care without collapsing. You can remember without reopening the wound. You can love what was without inviting it to run your life again. You do not have to deny what mattered in order to be free of what hurts. And sometimes, this is where the universe brings you a very quiet gift. It shows you that closure is not always a conversation. Sometimes closure is an internal decision. A moment when you stop waiting for someone else to understand your pain. A moment when you decide to stop auditioning for love. A moment when you stop rewriting the story, hoping the ending changes. You accept what is true, and you choose what is kind. And that choice begins to rearrange your life from the inside out. Now let's come closer to the body again. Place one hand over your chest if you can, not as a performance, as a signal to your nervous system that you are here. You might notice warmth. You might notice numbness. You might notice nothing at first. All of it is okay. Just let your hand be there. And imagine you are speaking to your heart the way you would speak to a small child who woke up from a bad dream. Softly, clearly, with steadiness. You might say, I'm here. You don't have to go through this alone anymore. We can take this one breath at a time. Now, sometimes the heat's high, where it breaks not because someone left, but because you left yourself. You ignored your own needs. You said yes when you meant no. You explained your pain away. You accepted crumbs and called it a meal. And if that is part of your story, I want you to be very gentle, because you did not do that because you were foolish. You did it because you wanted love, because you wanted connection, because you hoped. And hope is not shameful. Hope is human. What we do now is not punish the past self. We educate the present self. We say, thank you for trying. And now we choose differently. Now I want to offer another gentle set of words. Again, you can repeat them in your mind if it feels right. I give myself permission to heal at my own pace. I am learning how to choose what nourishes me. I am willing to be loyal to my heart. I allow my life to show me new possibilities. I am open to feeling supported. Notice how different this is from forcing positivity. This is not about pretending. This is about creating an inner atmosphere that supports recovery. And recovery often looks ordinary. It looks like eating something simple. It looks like taking a shower. It looks like stepping outside for air. It looks like sending one message to a safe person. It looks like going to bed a little earlier. These are sacred acts because they tell your heart, I matter. Now, let's address the mind, because the mind is very busy when the heart hurts. The mind tries to protect you by thinking. Thinking is its job. But sometimes the mind thinks in circles. It thinks to regain control, and it keeps you stuck in a loop. So when you notice the loop, you can do something very kind. You can say, "Thank you, mind." And now we return to this moment. The point of power is always in the present moment. Not because the present moment is perfect, but because the present moment is where you can actually breathe. It is where you can actually choose. It is where you can actually tend the garden. Now, let me share something I have learned about hearts. A heart does not reopen because someone proves themselves. A heart reopens when you prove yourself to you. When you show up consistently, when you speak kindly, when you stop negotiating your worth, when you begin to trust your own voice again. And that is a journey, a real one, not a slogan. Some days you will feel strong. Some days you will feel tender. Some days you will feel angry. Some days you will feel free. And then a memory will hit you and you will feel like you went backwards. But you didn't. Healing is not a straight line. It is a widening. You widen your ability to be with yourself. You widen your capacity to feel. You widen your tolerance for uncertainty. And slowly, life begins to meet you there. Now, let's talk about receiving. Because a wounded heart often says, "I can give, but I don't know how to receive." It feels safer to give. Giving feels like control. Receiving feels like vulnerability. So you may have been blocking the very medicine life has been offering. A kind message, a new friend, a moment of unexpected calm. Coincidence that felt like a whisper. A song lyric that made you stop. A stranger's small kindness. These are not random. They are part of the way life reaches for you. The universe does not always send a lightning bolt. Sometimes it sends a gentle hand. And if you have been praying for relief, it may come disguised as small, ordinary moments. So today, you practice receiving them, not with desperation, with openness. Now, I want to speak to the part of you that worries you will never love the same way again. You are right. You won't. And that is not a tragedy. That is growth. You will love with more wisdom. You will love with clearer boundaries. You will love with more respect for your own needs. You will love with less self-abandonment. You will love with your eyes open. And that is a beautiful evolution. Now, you may also be worried you will become cold. You won't, if you keep your heart connected to you. Warmth is not the same as overgiving. Warmth is not the same as tolerating. Warmth is the natural state of a heart that feels safe in its own care. And you can create that safety, one choice at a time. Now let's do something very simple. Think of one sentence you wish someone had said to you during the hardest moment. Not a perfect sentence, just one. Maybe it is. I believe you. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. I'm here. You matter. Now, imagine you say that sentence to yourself, not as a performance, as a homecoming. Your heart has been waiting for that voice. The voice that does not argue with your feelings. The voice that does not minimize. The voice that does not rush. You see, the universe often uses your own inner voice as the delivery system. It brings you to a moment like this, and then it says, "Now, speak kindly, because you are the one you have been waiting for." Not in a dramatic way, in a steady, everyday way. Now, I want to help you gently release any old agreement that pain had to be part of love. Some of us learned love through instability, through inconsistency, through earning, through waiting, through being chosen only when we performed well. So our nervous system confuses anxiety with attraction. It confuses longing with connection. And then we wonder why we keep repeating a story that hurts. This is where compassion becomes revolutionary. You do not shame yourself for what you learned. You simply learn again. You say, "I am willing to let love feel calmer. I am willing to let love be kind. I am willing to let love include me." And you may not believe it instantly. That is okay. But you can be willing, and willingness is the doorway. Now, a heart that is healing needs nourishment, not just emotional nourishment, physical nourishment, rest, water, simple movement, gentle music, sunlight, touch that feels safe, maybe even your own hand on your arm. A healing heart responds to the message, "You are cared for," and you can send that message in small ways. Now, I want to speak to the timing, because some of you listening have been frustrated with how long this has taken. You thought you would be better by now. But healing doesn't happen on your calendar. It happens when you stop fighting your feelings and start tending them. And sometimes, the extra time is not a punishment. It is a deepening. It is life teaching you to build a foundation, not just paint over cracks, so you can love again without losing yourself again. So you can create a life that is stable inside, no matter what happens outside. This is the kind of healing that lasts. Now let's soften into a quiet truth. Even when you felt alone, you were not abandoned by life. Life has been watching you. Life has been witnessing you. Life has been making room. There are certain doors that do not open when you are begging at the wrong one. There are certain people you cannot meet when you are still holding the old pain with both hands. There are certain joys that wait until you have enough space inside to receive them. So as you heal, you are not just recovering, you are making space. Space for ease, space for new experiences, space for the kind of love that does not punish you for being human. And that is what the universe has been preparing, quietly, precisely, in ways your mind could not predict. Now, let's speak a few more gentle words. Let them be like soft cloth around a tender place. I treat myself with kindness as I heal. I honor my feelings without letting them control me. I let my past inform me, not define me. I choose thoughts that support my well-being. I allow life to surprise me in good ways. Now, if you notice resistance, that is okay. Resistance is often fear wearing a mask. Fear that if you let go, you will forget. Fear that if you soften, you will be hurt again. Fear that if you move forward, the past will mean nothing. But the truth is, you do not have to suffer to honor what mattered. You can remember and still be free. You can grieve and still welcome new life. You can carry love without carrying pain. Now, I want you to imagine something very simple. Imagine your heart is sitting in a chair across from you. Not as a dramatic vision, just a gentle image. Look at it. Notice how tired it might look. Notice how brave it is for still being here. Now, speak to it. Say, "Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for feeling. Thank you for trying." And then say, "You can rest. You don't have to fight anymore." Sometimes the heart has been fighting to be understood, fighting to be chosen, fighting to be loved. And today you tell it, "You are chosen by me." That is the beginning of true safety. Now maybe you are wondering, what if the pain comes back tomorrow? It may. Feelings come in waves. But the difference now is, you have a new relationship with the wave. You don't have to drown in it. You can surf it. You can say, "Ah, here you are. I know you. I can be with you, and you will pass. Because you will. You have passed through so much already." Now, as we come toward the end of these gentle words, I want you to recognize something important. Healing is not a single moment. It is a practice of returning to your breath, returning to your body, returning to kinder thoughts, returning to your own side. And each return is a victory, even if it feels small, especially if it feels small, because small is sustainable. Now, let me leave you with a quiet truth you can carry. Your heart is not asking for perfection. It is asking for companionship. It is asking that you stop abandoning it when it hurts. It is asking that you speak to it with respect. It is asking that you stop treating your tenderness like a problem. Tenderness is your sensitivity to life. It is what makes you capable of intimacy. It is what makes you capable of beauty. And you do not have to become less tender to be safe. You simply become more grounded in yourself. Before you return to your day, I want you to recognize the quiet courage it took to stay here and listen, to let comfort in, to let your nervous system soften even a little, to allow a new inner language to begin. That is not nothing. That is a turning. And the universe notices turns like this. Because turns like this change the trajectory of a life. Not instantly, but truly. So go gently with yourself. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to take one small step, take it. And remember, you are allowed to heal without proving anything to anyone. You are allowed to feel better without betraying your past. You are allowed to open again at your own pace, in your own way. And when the old ache tries to tell you that you are alone, come back to this moment. Come back to your breath. Come back to the part of you that is learning to stay, because you are still here, and life is still reaching for you, quietly, lovingly, and with more care than you may realize right now.